Welcome to Creative Caregiving and Beyond. More and more people are having to become caregivers for their elderly loved ones, and navigating this journey can be really difficult. This podcast will provide guidance and give practical tips for your family. Your host is Wendy Whiteman, elder law attorney, author, speaker, and leading insight advisor in senior protocol and senior lifestyle trends. Know that you are not alone in getting the help that you need. Let's get started. And here's Wendy.
Well, welcome to the show. Like many of you, I have caregiving responsibilities for my mother. And today we have some information for you that I think is going to be helpful for your journey. We have a special guest. Today we have Donna Smith from Cedar Hill Nursing and Rehab. Welcome to the show, Donna.
Thank you, Wendy. Nice to be here.
Yes. Well, it's good to have you. And thank you for coming on to share with our audience. Today we want to kind of paint a picture for them that have family members that may be having to go into long-term care, or they're seeing signs of that. So exactly what do you do for Cedar Hill Nursing Rehab?
I'm the marketing director for Cedar Hill Healthcare Center and Park Manor in DeSoto.
Okay.
They are owned by Southwest Long-Term Care.
Okay.
They have facilities in East Texas, South Texas, and Oklahoma.
Okay.
So I've been with them for this time 2 years. I worked for them before for 4 years. I left for a year and then came back. So this time I've been back 2 years. Okay. So what I do is I go assess patients in the hospital to see what kind of care that they need. Right. We get the referrals from the hospital, and then I assess to see if they meet criteria for either skilled services, which means short-term care for physical therapy, okay, or possible long-term care.
Okay. So you're the first person they would actually see in the hospital, the family?
Yes.
From the facility?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
So you said you do an assessment. So what are you looking at? What does that mean to our families? What does that entail?
The hospital sends over clinical information and, of course, a face sheet that shows their insurance or Medicare, Medicaid, of what they have that will cover their stay in a skilled facility. Okay. If they're short-term care, it's usually Medicare or a managed care. Yes. For their therapy. Okay. Long-term care is covered by Medicaid or private pay. Yes. Insurance does not cover a long-term care stay. Yes. I go in and we look at the clinicals to see if they meet medical necessity. Okay. For their short-term stay, which they normally do if they need any type of physical therapy, speech therapy, respiratory therapy. And then we also assess to see if they meet medical necessity, if they need to stay long-term after their therapy has been looked at and taken care of.
Great. And so you explain some of those terms, I gather, to the family members.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
A lot of people don't understand that that you have to meet medical necessities to stay at a nursing home. People think that they can just put their family there, because they can't take care of them anymore. Right. The Medicaid dictates the qualifications to stay long-term care. Yes. So you have to have a need to stay into a nursing home facility.
And that's so great that you covered that with the families, because our staff and my law practice, once we get a family and we're doing a consultation with them, they don't understand that most of the time. And so we're going over that part with them. But I always tell them I'm a lawyer. I'm not doing the medical part of it. So we need to definitely consult the healthcare facility and the doctors, and they'll have to look at their the actual medical records to determine if they if they are a good fit for the facility. Right. Yeah.
Now we do can admit direct from home too. You don't have to be in a hospital. Okay. Usually their personal care physician will write an order stating that they request nursing home for the elderly that's at home. Right. And usually we'll get the clinical information from the physician in order to assess that way.
Okay. Does that happen often? That
Not
you
a
admit from
lot.
home, or?
Not a lot. I just don't. I try to market to churches and to assisted living facilities.
Okay.
So when they see a decline, maybe in a loved one,
Yes.
or if they are in an assisted living, that we still can direct admit, that they don't have to go to the hospital. And sometimes even from an assisted living, maybe they're doing a decline and need some therapy.
Right.
So we'll take them in and get their therapy done and then send them back to the assisted living. Doesn't necessarily mean that they have to stay with us.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's
Yeah.
good that you guys, lay that out for the family. You kind of
Yes.
paint that picture, so to speak. And so once the family has determined and you guys have made it the assessment at the hospital that they are a good fit for your facility, how does the family coordinate that move from the hospital to your facility? Because obviously the patient may not be in a position to just get in the car, go out in the parking lot and just pack a
Yeah.
bag and go.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
Well, we deal mainly with the social workers from the hospital.
Okay.
So they'll send us all their clinical information. Again, we assess it. Everything's good to go. The hospital and our facility coordinate the transport.
Okay.
So the family doesn't have to bring the loved one from the hospital.
Right.
If they're ambulatory and they can come in a wheelchair, we send wheelchair transport.
Okay.
And if it's stretcher, there's stretcher transport. We always call the family and talk to the family to let them know their family member's been accepted. And we give them the system on how it works,
Very
on
good.
how they pay for long-term care, or if it's short-term care, they're just coming for therapy.
Okay.
So all that's taken care of. The families don't have to worry about getting them there. All they have to do is show up and visit and bring them any personal items if they want any of their personal items there while that they are at the facility.
That's great. I know that probably relieves a lot of stress.
And it
for
makes
the
it
family
feel more
members.
like home
Yeah.
for them. It's not jail for these people.
Right.
For the, it's their home, and that's where they're going to stay.
Yes.
And they're allowed, as long as it fits in their room, they're allowed to bring whatever they want to bring.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
So do most of the rooms, most of them have roommates, or do you have single rooms, or just depends on their level of care?
Yes. On short-term stay for therapy, it's private rooms.
Okay.
On long-term care, unless you private pay, Medicaid will not pay for a private room.
Okay.
They will only pay for semi-private. So if you are a long-term resident, you will have a roommate.
Okay.
Unless the family wants to pay private for
Yes.
their stay.
For their stay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good deal. Well, so you mentioned therapy. So you go from the hospital. A lot of the patients will come from the hospital to your facility for skilled nursing, and they encounter therapy at that point. So for therapy, who actually lays out that plan for them? Is there a therapist, or is that
Yes.
part of your medical
Yes.
staff that's in-house, or?
Yes, it's in-house.
Okay.
We have a therapy team.
Okay.
We staff a speech, physical therapist, occupational therapist, respiratory therapy. We don't have a 24-hour respiratory therapist.
Okay.
Usually, for our facilities right now, they're contracted out
Okay.
because usually for respiratory therapists, it's for trachs and a higher acute thing like that. So we do contract that out.
Okay.
But yeah, the team will assess within 24 hours is what we like for them to be assessed by the therapist, so that we can get them going.
Yes.
And the quicker we can get them to feeling better and getting their knees to work or their elbows to work or whatever they came in for therapy, because we want them to go home.
Right.
We want the families to be able to see their loved ones get better.
Right.
So, and get them home so they can get back to their normal everyday life.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and that's the goal.
Yes.
To get them back home and get
Yes,
them.
ma'am.
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
great. Now, does your facility have any particular type of special, specialty type care, like bariatric, or can you accept patients like that, or wound
Yes.
care?
Yeah. We get all of that information on the clinicals. We do wound care, IV therapy.
Okay.
we need to know, yes, usually when I do the assessment, I can pretty much tell what kind of equipment they need, if it's a BiPAP machine, if they do need a berry bed, if they are larger and do need a different type bed than your normal hospital beds.
Okay.
So that helps when I do go assess, so that I can lay eyes on the patient to see exactly what they're discharging with, so that we are prepared when they get to the building.
Okay. Well, now I know that we're all transitioning sort of out of COVID or intermittently between the way it used to be and the way it is now. Do the family members get a chance to tour at this point, or
Well,
how's that
not so much
done?
during the COVID.
Okay.
Things have lightened up a little bit. We still want to be very cautious,
Right.
because not everybody's had the vaccine,
Right.
and we just don't want people just running amok in the facilities. So
Yes.
we do take a lot of precautions.
Yes.
Before COVID, you could come tour anytime you want.
Yes.
Just let somebody know you're coming or ring the bell. We like surprise visits because, our nursing staff and our CNAs and our maintenance and housekeeping work very hard.
Very good.
To make sure that, everything is kept clean and that the families feel comfortable.
Right. Right.
Yeah. The surprise visits are the best.
The best ones.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, they
I always
are.
tell my clients that too. I said, surprise them. Go on the weekends and go on hours that they wouldn't normally expect at facilities, and make sure everything's still running the way you want it to.
Right.
So that's always a good tip.
Right.
Another good tip is to, I've talked about this with some of my clients, is you can't always look at the wrapping of a facility to determine if it's a good facility or not. And do you guys, what is your philosophy at your facility? Because I know Cedar Hill's been around for a long time.
It's been around a long time.
It's been a long, yes.
I am definitely going to have to agree with you. And thank goodness, in the industry, the social workers at the hospitals do try to tell the families, don't look at the building.
Yeah.
Look at what's inside. Talk to the nurses when you go.
Right.
I know when we give tours, we always like to introduce the families to the administrator, to the director of nursing, to CNAs if they're standing in the hall, let them know this family member's in the hospital, this is a family member touring. Ask for turnover. How long have the nurses been there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't go by just because the furniture's not pretty. 'Cause
Right.
that doesn't mean that your family's not going to get taken care of.
Exactly.
Because
exactly.
it's the nursing, and they work really hard in the nursing homes. Cedar Hill and Park Manor has an amazing staff. They've been there a long time.
Right.
They care about these patients.
Yes.
They do care what happens to these patients.
And
They
that's
become
what's-
family.
Yeah.
Especially if they're long term. They become family to the nurses and to the CNAs.
And that makes the family feel better and sleep better at night
Yes.
when they're not there with their loved one, especially
Yes.
when they can't be there during all hours, to know that someone's treating their loved one like a family member, like they would treat them. And I remember when my mom was in skilled nursing, I learned so much from the staff because there's so many things I did not know. And I felt like I was taking a crash course in rehab and therapy. And I thought it was so important that they would actually teach us what to do with my mom as she transitioned home to keep up her mobility and things like that.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was excellent to
Yeah.
be on hand and to be able to learn that too.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
that's one thing we do at Cedar Hill Healthcare and at Park Manor. We make sure that we have a care plan
Okay.
in place before the patient even admits. We don't bring them in just to get their Medicare days for their skilled services.
Okay.
We make sure they have a home to go to
Great.
when they leave us.
Right.
If they don't, that's when we look for medical necessity for long-term care.
Okay.
Some people don't have family involved, and we're not going to just put them out on the street. We're not taking them in just to get the Medicare days.
Yes.
We make sure they have a roof over their head when they leave our facilities.
Very good. And
Yes.
someone to check in on them and make sure
Yes.
they're okay.
We do follow-up calls once they get home
Okay,
to
very
make
good.
sure that, everything's going good.
Okay,
If they don't have a PCP, we'll recommend one.
okay. Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, we want to make sure they're taken care of at home too, not just they're coming here and getting their therapy and see you later.
Right,
We
right.
want to make sure that they're going to a safe discharge place.
So you mentioned care plan, and I know that's a term that a lot of families will hear once they go and their family member has gone into a facility. So the care plan, is that sort of like a business plan that lays out the goals and what you project that can happen at your facility?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We do a care plan within 48 to 72 hours. The family will meet with the social worker, the nurses, administrators, to see exactly what's going to be happening while they're there at the facility.
Okay.
To see if we get their med list,
Okay.
especially if they're long-term coming in, to make sure what medicines that they're on.
Right.
Everything's in place because, we have to get stuff from the pharmacy, so we have to order their medications.
Yes.
Make sure they have a wheelchair when they're leaving. We get with DME companies just to make sure everything is taken care of so that they don't have to worry when they get home and go, oh, we don't have a wheelchair.
Right. Right.
We will guide them to the companies to get them the wheelchairs or walkers of what they need to have an everyday life at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's great because the basic, the ordinary layman like me, if I had, as my mom was transitioning from skilled nursing, I didn't know what she was going to need at home. And it's so great that you guys kind of lay that out. And so when they get home, they'll have all those things in place, from the wheelchair to the, I know my mom was using oxygen at the time. I mean, I had no idea how to use that machine and just the things that go along with it. That's great that you guys kind of lay that out and coordinate that ahead of time for the family.
Yeah, and then there's home health too. If they need home health, we usually have 3 or 4 that we recommend.
Okay.
So you get a choice because it is family's choice on who they want to use. They might already have a home health that they use, but a lot of people don't know to utilize home health. It's Medicare, it pays for it.
Right.
So if you need home health, it's a great thing to have.
That is a very, very good point that Medicare pays for family members who have Medicare.
And managed care does too.
Managed care pays for it too. And they can have someone come in and nurses visits, therapy, things like that, just to kind of keep them going, make sure that they're, eating properly. A lot of great tips in their home environment. So that's a very good point. So what happens for those who are staying in the facility and I get this question a lot, they have a primary care physician that they're used to dealing with. Can they keep that physician? I know they're doing a lot of teledoc now.
They can make doctor's appointments to their personal care physician.
Okay.
Now, we do have rounding physicians. We have a medical director.
Okay.
And then we have usually 2 to 3 attending physicians that come into the building and they will see the patients throughout the month. So if they don't have a PCP, they can be seen by the physicians that are there. And sometimes they usually just go ahead and transition to the physician because it's just easier. Then they don't have to get out if they don't want to. Or, if a family member can't get off work, at least they have seen a physician at the building.
Right.
Unless they need a specialty doctor, it's usually just transitions to the physicians that are in the building.
Okay.
Yeah.
So who's on staff? Who's there pretty much all the time? You've got your CNAs as far as medical staff to oversee the families.
We have our social workers, the administrator, our therapy department, our director of nursing, our assistant director of nursing, and then our just nursing staff and CNAs.
Okay.
That they're
Great.
there all day long. They make it home. They have activities to do.
Yes.
We encourage to go to the lunchroom. Well, not during COVID, but when the COVID's not there, we encourage the residents, get up. Don't lay in bed all day. It's time to get up. Let's go play some games. Let's go to the dining room.
Yes. It's
your home. Utilize it as your home.
Okay.
You're free to walk around, go outside. So it's very encouraged to get up and be involved in the activities during the day.
Good.
We have church, we have bingo, we have different kind of games. We have volunteers that come in. I know in the summertime, we do a lot of planting with flowers in the garden.
Yeah.
And I like to ask those questions when I do an assessment. What does your loved one like to do? Do they like to draw? Do they like to plant? Do they like to listen to music? So that when they get there, and especially when they go into long-term, we know what they do like to do.
That's
so
very
that they
good.
can continue that too.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome.
The volunteers are great. Like I said, it stopped during the COVID, but it's nice when the kids come in to sing. And
Yes.
So
it gives them something to look forward to. Yeah, brightens their day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I said earlier, it's not prison, it's their home. It's a place to be, and it's not a bad place to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
You make friends there. I know that I've worked in facilities when they'll tell their loved ones when they're out for Christmas visits, I'm ready to go home. Because it's their home.
Yes.
That's where they stay. They miss their friends.
Yes.
And it becomes, that's where they want to be, because that's where they're comfortable now.
Well, very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, it sounds like you guys make it a homey place too.
Yes.
And I've been to both facilities, and I've had clients in both, and I can tell you, that's been the feedback I've had through the years, is that it's been homey. It's been homey, and they feel like that they're taken care of.
Yes.
They're taken care of. And I know Cedar Hill was one of the first facilities I ever went in when I started practicing elder law about 20 years ago. And everybody was so nice to me. And
we get a lot of that. People, when they tour, they're like, your staff is really friendly.
Yes.
But I'm telling you, the company that I work for, they take care of their employees. They like their jobs.
Yes.
I mean, they're treated really good. So I love it there. Like I said, I came back. I left for a year and came back. So it's a good company to work for. And the staff is really, really happy most of the time.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't say all the time, because that's not life. But we do get that compliment that, wow, your staff really smiles and are happy. And I'm like, yeah, that makes a difference.
Well, you can tell a lot about a company if their employees are unhappy, and it goes back to the philosophy of the company. You know, what's coming from top down.
Yeah.
And that's important when you're looking at placing your loved one in a facility. If the employees are disgruntled, if the morale is low, something's going on there, and you don't want that taken out on your loved one because it's not a good work environment. So that's good to know.
You spend a lot of time there as an employee. So, we try to, have, like during Nurses Week, do special things for the nurses. During Social Work Week, during Administrative Week. It seems like there's always something to celebrate.
Yes.
So I know I took a snow cone machine the other day to to one of the facilities, and they just love it.
Wow.
It shows that you're appreciated, and come enjoy a snow cone.
Yes.
Now we did it when it was raining. The sun wasn't shining that day, but that's okay too.
That's okay. A snow cone is good anytime.
Yeah. So
rain or shine.
Yeah, it's things like that just keep the morale up.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, this is an area where you definitely have to have a heart.
Yes.
And a calling, I feel, to work in this space in elder care in any capacity. And it sounds like you have that heart.
Yeah, I do. I do. I believe that everybody deserves a roof over their head if they want it.
Yes. Yes.
That's why I'm in it, because everybody deserves to have a bed, food, and a roof over their head. And this is the best way that I can help people have that.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And making sure we, haven't forgotten about our elderly population.
Yep.
Because it's so easy for them to get just swept under the carpet, under the rug, especially when they've been such productive people in life, and just like we're doing today, and they've been there, they've done that, and then just because they've aged, it doesn't mean that they're any less or shouldn't be
Exactly.
treated any better. Yeah.
If you could just sit and listen to some of the stories, if some people would just take the time,
Yes.
you'd be amazed how smart, funny,
Yes.
if you just take the time.
Just take the time.
Because guess what? I'm going to be there one day, and I hope somebody's still listening to me.
Right. I agree.
Yes.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of the things I miss. And I still get a chance to do it with clients today, but I just remember, and I didn't, I guess I was just, really busy, but I didn't appreciate it as much as I appreciate it now. Some of my clients had served in World War II, and hearing those stories and the battles, and they would just, they love to talk about those war stories.
Yes.
And I'd tell them, I said, I'm so proud of you and just appreciate your service to our country. And, but it was just so fast that
Yeah.
a lot of them had passed on.
Yeah.
But they gave a great contribution to our country, and just making sure that they get the service they deserve too.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. It's so funny because I took some baseball caps to the facility one day, and you'd be amazed at how they feel about their teams. I had one certain cap. I'm not going to tell you which one, but everybody's like, nope, I don't want that one. And I'm like, well, okay. So, they're just because you're 90 years old doesn't mean that you don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly.
And they deserve recognition just like a 30-year-old does.
Yes.
You're not gone if you're still here.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I bet you got the conversation revved up and the dining room revved up that day. So,
Oh, yeah.
With the baseball cap.
I never
That's a great
figured out
idea.
why, but I'm like, okay, I will never bring this cap again.
Not this team. Not this team. Not in Dallas,
no,
right?
no, it was funny though. But yeah, it's fun things like that. I don't get to go in the buildings that often like I used to during the COVID.
Yes.
I'm out on the streets a lot because my job is marketing.
Yes.
So I don't get to interact like I used to. Yeah, but I think once COVID lifts up and I can start going back in there more.
Right.
It was just too difficult. I didn't need to be in there if I didn't have to be.
Didn't have to be.
And I used to go quite a bit, but my job is to be out marketing and in the hospitals and in the community. We do have admissions coordinators that are amazing.
Right.
That help tremendously. Like I couldn't do my marketing without the admissions, the business office manager that has to check all the financials. There's a lot that goes into it that people don't realize. There's a lot of behind the scenes. Yes. Like the business office managers have to make sure that they have all their finances in place in order to admit, make sure they have family if they're going into long-term care for Medicaid, because a lot of them don't have nursing home Medicaid.
Right.
So it'll be a pending Medicaid.
Yes.
Even though people think, well, I have Medicaid. Well, you do, but you don't have nursing home Medicaid.
Right.
So that starts the whole process. So the business office manager does that. The admissions coordinators immediately call the families to make sure they're okay. Do you need a tour? Do you have any questions? Their jobs are just, it's a lot for them to get it going. So it's a lot of behind the scenes. Like I said, my part's the easy part. I have a lot of respect for the employees that are there taking care of that part of it.
It is a team approach for sure.
It is very much a team approach.
There are a lot of moving parts and making sure that they are taken care of. And I know that the financial part, we work with clients with that and, trying to preserve their assets, and we help families with that and getting them approved for Medicaid. But that's just one of those things that when you're dealing with the whole scheme and the whole picture, you've got you're trying to place a family member, and you're trying to figure out finances.
Right.
And boy, what a combination that is.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So, but it's important to let them know that there's help out there. A lot of times we'll deal with that business office manager and just let them know, we've reviewed their assets, and we don't, see any reasons why we can't get them qualified.
Right.
But that relieves so much pressure for them.
Yeah.
And that's just a big deal.
Yes,
Huge
it's
deal.
great with the elder law attorneys like yourself
Yes.
that can help and not take all their money
Right.
and figure out a
Right.
way for them to qualify for Medicaid,
Right.
so that the family's not left without their inheritance or
Exactly.
things like that. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Protecting those assets,
Yes.
that's for sure.
Yes.
And that's wonderful. And then, do you have any closing thoughts you'd like to leave for our families today?
I don't want nursing homes to get the bad rap,
Yes.
because everybody's like, oh, I'm not putting my family member there. Well, don't think that.
Right.
Call and ask questions.
Yes.
I've always told people, you can call me anytime, even if you don't choose my facility,
Right.
because you deserve to be comfortable where your loved one is going.
Right.
But just ask as many questions as you want.
Yes.
It doesn't irritate me to answer the questions, because if I were not in this business
Yes.
and my loved one was going, I would want to know.
Right. Right.
Nursing homes are not a bad place to put your loved one.
Right. Right.
They are very well taken care of.
Yes.
If you are uncomfortable, contact somebody
Right.
and let them know what's going on and why you're uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because things will get taken care of.
Yeah.
Especially with our company. I mean, you're not happy, it's taken care of
It's taken
immediately.
care of.
Yes, ma'am.
Very good.
Yes.
So stay communicative and
Yeah.
make sure that everyone knows what's going on. If there's something on their mind, then approach someone and take care of it.
And keep
Yeah.
an open mind.
Yeah.
If you can't take care of your loved one, somebody needs to.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and a skilled nursing facility, long-term care facility is a good route to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because sometimes people do make pledges and vows to their family member, and they'll tell them, I'll never put you in a nursing home.
Right.
And then it gets to the point, like you said, that they just can't do it. They simply don't have the skills to take care of them at that level of care.
Yeah.
And
And I haven't figured out yet how to tell the community, don't be scared.
right.
It's going to be okay.
Yes.
Because you can always ask questions.
Yes.
You're always welcome to talk to your loved one
Right.
and make sure that they're happy.
Yeah.
I know when they get older people want to be home. That's where they live.
Right.
They just want to go back to their home. And
Right.
sometimes that's just not possible to do.
Yeah.
And I know it's hard for the loved one to watch that because it makes them sad. They
Yeah.
want them to be able to go home too.
Right.
And to
right.
listen to a loved one cry, I just want to go home.
Yeah.
That's very hard.
It is hard.
It's hard
It is
to take, but
Yeah.
there's always somebody to talk to when you're feeling insecure or scared or don't know about the unknown.
Right.
There's always somebody that you can turn to and talk to.
Very good. Very
Yeah.
good. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Everybody needs that support.
Yes.
So if anybody wanted to contact you or the facility at Cedar Hill or Park Manor, how would they go about that? And we can make sure we put your website up as well.
Yeah, it's Cedar Hill Healthcare Center, 230 South Clark Road
Okay.
in Cedar Hill.
Okay.
And the phone number is 972-291-7877.
Okay.
And then we have Park Manor Healthcare and Rehab in DeSoto, and it's 207 East Parkerville Road
Okay.
in DeSoto, 972-230-1000.
Okay.
And they can ask for admissions.
Admissions? Okay.
And it starts there, and then kind of just that's where it goes to admissions. Then, the family lets the hospital know, hey, I'm comfortable with you sending all the clinicals
okay.
to the facility, and then I go do the assessment. a lot of times the families are already at the hospital, so I get to meet the families. But again, during COVID, they weren't, and I couldn't go in either.
Okay.
But it's getting more to where now that we can go back into the hospitals when we do have
Very
a
good.
referral from the hospital. They're
Yes.
letting us in to do an assessment to meet the patient
Yes.
and see the family.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
So then our website, we can get that information.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll put that up as well.
Oh, I
the
was going to
website
say
and
one
social
more
media.
thing too.
Yes.
There's a lot of star ratings on there.
Yeah.
I don't suggest always going by a star rating.
Okay.
Star ratings change, and it takes a while sometimes for them to change. So the best way to get answers is ask.
Right.
Ask the nursing staff.
Yes.
Ask the questions. Just because you're a 2 or 3 star nursing facility doesn't mean that you're not with the high criteria
Right.
as a 5-star.
Right. Right.
So, just don't always look at the star ratings.
And who does that star rating? Is that from the public, or you mean just various ratings and reviews?
Yeah,
Yeah, and
it's done from a level that I don't even really know. I guess that's a good thing. I need to find that out. It's not from ratings. It's from different. I don't know if it's return to acutes, or there's a lot that goes into the star ratings.
Okay. Okay.
So I need to definitely do my homework on that one.
Well, I always like to talk to someone who's been through it too.
Yes.
And a lot of times I'll tell my clients, maybe you can talk to someone who's been a resident there, or a family who's
Yes.
currently there, because that's a good perspective. Just like you're, shopping or buying a car, someone refers a movie.
Right.
You got to see this movie because I saw it,
Right.
So I like to talk to people who've been through it as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And be able to, talk to them face to face or on the phone, and just kind of hear them and hear their
Yeah.
passion, and just because sometimes you can't see that on paper with a rating,
Right.
but you can hear the entire story when you're actually talking to
Right.
someone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get all
And-
the facts.
And it's the same when I do an assessment. Sometimes they don't look good on paper,
Yes.
but when I go see the patient or talk to the
Right.
family,
Right.
we might have denied them for a reason.
Right.
And then I go assess. I'm like, no, this isn't true anymore. That they don't have the wound there, or they don't have the IV antibiotics, or, just different things. So
Yes.
to me, don't always go by what's on paper.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do your research.
Do your research.
Yeah.
Very good. That's a very
Yes.
good tip.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Donna, it has been great having you on the
Well,
show.
thank you for
You
having
are
me.
a wealth of information.
Thank you.
And I know a lot of people are going to be able to take that information and use it as a guide for their families. And so that is our show for today. And don't forget to like us on social media and subscribe to our channel. And remember to go check on the senior and see if they're okay, because it may just end up brightening your day. Thanks for watching.